Let's explore whether a focus point is necessary to meditate. This morning's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. Is meditating without a specific focal point fine? So my job here, it's dangerous. It's really dangerous to ask questions on Reddit because some people, for whatever reason, just use it as license for character assassination. And I don't want to do that. What I would like to do is do two things. Number one, answer the specific question. But number two, as an extra added bonus, give the person who asked the question extra tools to really take the next 4 or 5 steps forward on the spiritual path. I used to meditate, but quit because ironically enough, it just increased my stress. Since I try to focus on a specific part of my nose, oopsie, let's try that and go over here, which would cause me to fixate on controlling my breath in a certain way. Now, this person who wrote this is obviously intelligent. One of the things that just about gave me a stroke in high school was geometry class. Not because I didn't like the work of geometry. I didn't like the proofs. They would just force me to think in a way I'd never thought before. And was very, very difficult. And the essence of geometric proof was show your work. How did you get there from here? So here's the problem. This person is going from observation to conjecture. And that can cause more problems than it solves. So right now, this person used to meditate. That's an observation. Good. And it increased my stress. That's an observation. Good. Now, you might have noticed that you were doing all things with your focusing, but there's a causal assumption here that I've turned red. In Philosophy 101, you should have been taught that correlation is no guarantee of causation. And that's really important in every area of our life. Sometimes things can be observed at the same time without causing each other. Let's move forward. Since I try to focus on a specific part of my nose, which would cause me to fixate on controlling my breath in a certain way, me too. I've had the privilege of studying with each sect of Buddhism, and in some sects, this is a real problem. In order to make sure that that part of my nose I'd focus on would feel air. So here's the great irony. We have been breathing since birth, and we just relegate or delegate that job to our medulla oblongata region of our brainstem. When we try to assume control of our breathing, hilarity ensues in the worst possible way. And if I tried focusing on a part of my torso instead, the same issue arose. But today I tried taking some deep breaths with my eyes closed, but instead of having a specific point to focus on, I just focus on whatever part of my torso I felt at the moment. So what this person is doing, and they don't realize it, and it's not an indictment on them, it's an indictment on their teachers, is they are entrenched in the concept of active concentration or active focus. But from a neuroscientific point of view, is that really the Buddhist path? We will explore that in a couple of minutes. This made the deep breathing easier than the meditation I was doing, since I wouldn't get caught up on worrying about feeling sensations in specific areas. So, let's explore this. Beginning, excuse me, I got some weird things going on with my respiratory tract. Let's begin with some broad brush strokes. there is a correlation between focus, concentration, and stress, and I'd like to share that with you. I'd like to look at. Please excuse my wheeze. I sound like Darth Vader Jr. over here. Let's look at this through the lens of neuroscience. When we use our medial prefrontal cortex to actively concentrate, and we use our dorsolateral prefrontal cortex to actively contemplate, our blood, according to functional magnetic resonance imaging studies, or fMRI studies, our blood collects at our amygdala, which functions, and it's located at the base of our limbic system, and it functions as the seat of both aggression and anxiety. So here's the great irony. When people are teaching us to actively focus or actively concentrate, they're setting us up, whether they know it or not, whether they're lazy-minded or malicious, they are setting us up for greater stress. But did you know there's an alternative? When, instead of relying upon active concentration of the medial prefrontal cortex, instead we rely upon our sympathetic nervous system, ensconced not within the forehead, the tissues behind the forehead, but instead ensconced within the thoracic or ribcage region of our spinal cord. Then that's completely different. You see, our sympathetic nervous system did not evolve to support active concentration. It evolved to support something different, something older. It evolved to support noticing, and doing so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Which sounds really, really messy, because it is. Additionally, rather than analyze and try to believe certain things, if we give our dorsolateral region a break and instead rely upon our parasympathetic nervous system during each exhalation to use its lower lumbar area, as well as either the tippy top of its cervical region or its brainstem, depending upon how you like organizing things, then it has evolved for both physical relaxation and mental release. So, when we rely upon the two facets of our autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic regions, to perceive during our inhalation and relax during our exhalation, something amazing happens. The blood that formerly collected at our amygdala, the seat of aggression and anxiety, shifts to our anterior cingulate gyrus, this hunk of meat that kind of looks like a catcher's mitt. And it's just a few centimeters behind our forehead, and it functions as the hub of our mirror neuron, the seat of compassion and empathy and love. This switch takes place automatically, simply by shifting from active concentration to passive awareness. And this brings us to the idea of, well, let's jump ahead here, of yin and yang. Now you may say, dude, that's Taoism. Well, yes, Lao Tzu did either write or collect the 81 poems of the Tao Te Ching approximately 100 years before the advent of the Buddha. But yin and yang teachings are also expressed in Buddhism, the oldest teachings of Buddhism. We compare and contrast the Buddha with his wicked cousin Devadatta. And we learned that Devadatta, much like Yang, was fond of being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, crypto-competitive, and cruel. And we contrast that with Gautama, the Buddha, who, like Yin, was fond of being flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. And that's a whole lot of adjectives. So let's take a simplistic view. When we are rigid and controlling, that we're going to be drawn to concentration like ants to a picnic. When we choose to be flexible and laid back, then we are going to be more drawn towards noticing vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Now, we already evolved a mechanism that makes that possible, the autonomic nervous system, known as that we access during each inhalation and exhalation. As long as we draw breath, we are already wired to do this. We just got to get out of our own way. So let's explore how to do that real quick. So there's a whole bunch of destructive mythology that has been concocted by people who like being rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. And one of them is, there's an evil entity called ourself, and then if we believe in our sense of self, then we suffer, and if we don't believe in our sense of self, we don't. No, that's incorrect. One time I was getting oral surgery, and the dingbat dodo brain of an oral surgeon says the only reason you're in pain right now is because you're tense. No, sir. There are pain receptors in my body, in my mouth, and you're slicing into them. If you don't understand that, perhaps you should relinquish your medical license. So, we are wired to notice scarcity, abundance, pleasure, pain, scorn, love, fame, and shame. We are wired to notice this as an evolutionary feature. It's not because we believe in something, it's not because we don't believe in something. The ability to perceive these things predates the ability to believe, predates the ability to think. It's an ancient mechanism. Consider, if you will, two of our ancestors having climbed out of the trees and ventured into the plains of Africa. One, we'll call him Albert, is just focused on a ladybug, and everything else fades away. Albert is using his medial prefrontal cortex. Now let's pretend there's a guy named Bob. Now, Bob, he's just like Deputy Borny 5. He's a twitchy motherfucker. And he's relying upon his sympathetic nervous system to notice everything. He's noticing sight, sound, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. And you know what? Bob hears the footfall of approaching predators, and he's out of there. Guess which one lived to procreate and shares genetic material, and which one became lunch? If you guessed Albert became lunch, you're correct. We are the descendants of the twitchy Barney Fife-like bastards who were just squirrely. We were squirrely motherfuckers. That's how we evolved to be, whether we know it or not. When we evolve our inner twitchy, squirrely nature, we're able to rapidly master the Buddha's path. So, our brain is not our enemy. But our brain is kind of like Steve Urkel from Family Matters. Means well, super clever, but kind of clueless and kind of klutzy. And so this 3-pound supercomputer between our ears can just take us on Mr. Toad's wild ride, unless we give it a job. And we say, hey, Urkel, would you please silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation? And would you please silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation? When our brain does that, it begins cooperating with our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system. It becomes very, very easy. Now, a question is raised. What about using a focal point? If we're going to coordinate the silent mental recitation of these two monosyllabic words with our breath, don't we need a launching point? No. So here's how that works. If you chant a bit and then relax, chanting and coasting can be like riding a skateboard. You're standing on the skateboard with one foot, with the other foot you're pushing against the concrete until you get momentum, and then you coast on the skateboard. And that's what we're going to experience during this morning's meditation. We're going to chant, we're going to coast. And this is a wonderful way to dance with the features of our brain. Now, when we read the, what's it called? When we read the meditation manuals of the great Dzogchen masters and of the great Mahamudra masters, we learned that the idea there's a way to use a focal point, and there's a meditation without a focal point. And meditation without a focal point is considered superior. But it's not new, because for those with eyes to see and ears to hear, when you go back to the original teachings of the Buddha, meditation without a focal point is inferred in the 7 enlightenment factors. And although we are introduced to the 7 enlightenment factors within the context of the Anapanasati Sutta, contrary to the ravings of stupid white men, Anapanasati does not correctly translate as breathing meditation or meditation upon breath, as meditation with breath. In other words, coordinating our mental experience with our breathing rather than focusing on our breathing, which is completely different. Now, I've mentioned a lot of ideas, and I do look forward to practicing them with you in great specificity after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. L'chaim. Excuse me. Okay, let's begin by bringing the 5 body regions into the path of bliss and letting go. This is known by many names, including completion stage tantra, bindu mahamudra, anu yoga, and tikle drop, which is short for channels, winds and drops, or nadi prana and bindu. And of course, the word bindu found its way into the original 6 novels of the Dune universe. Please chant with me. Now, what I like to do is place my hands in the puckered palm position in front of my sternum. Am I doing that because I'm supplicating a real or imagined celestial entity? No. I'm doing that because that seems to have a favorable effect on what feels like subtle energy flowing in my body. You're welcome to experiment with that and notice if that creates a beneficial result or not. Together. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever lower abdomen we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as not graspable as real or imaginable cities. Mustard seeds a syllable of green light. Now, despite all that, our job is not to actively visualize. Our job is simply to play with words silently and mentally in harmony with our breath. Excuse me. During our in-breath, we could silently and mentally recite wombs green ah. During our exhalation, we could silently and mentally recite the 3-syllable verb relaxing. Now, even though we're using the word womb, it refers simply to our lower abdomen, whether you have a uterus or you don't. Our job is not to actively visualize a teeny tiny letter A the size of mustard seed. Our job is simple. Silently and mentally recite these words in harmony with your breathing. Your mind might spontaneously visualize. It might not. It don't matter. Your intention is simple. Play with these words in harmony with your breathing. Now, to make things extra interesting, let's play with this exercise for 4 rounds. Now, what's a round? In this context, a round is simply one inhalation followed by one exhalation. I am really having trouble with air quality this morning. I apologize for that, guys. So, how do we count to 4? What I like to do is I like to advance the tip of my left thumb during each inhalation and touch it to various points on my hand, various sets of creases or tips. Please follow along with me as together we silently and mentally recite wombs green relaxing. What I'd like to do next is play with a mantra version of the same exercise. During the inhalation, we silently, mentally, and passively recite the italicized bit. During the exhalation, we physically relax as best we can while striving to chant these 12 syllables 4 times per breath. And if this is your first time playing with this mantra, you're allowed to have a learning curve. In fact, let's do a quick chant so that you feel comfortable with the mantra. Together. I invoke teachers, home action, non meditation, and home view. That the Benza Tantric Guru teachers pay my enlightenment and siddhi abilities, whom may be mastered by all. So this is a loose translation of what that mantra is doing. So it's not invoking a demon. It's just a loving and wishful thought for universal enlightenment. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung. Now, what am I going to do with these other 3 fingers, you might reasonably ask? Let's bring, having played with our passive contemplation and our mantra meditation, let us now practice silent meditation. During our inhalation, let us coast, as promised during the opening lesson, and coast into passive perception, while silently and mentally our Urkel-like brain recites the demonstrative pronoun this. and physically relax as well as mentally release during our exhalation as, again, our Steve Urkel of a brain silently and mentally recites the one-syllable verb, ease. There are two types of practitioners, good-hearted and bad-hearted. when a good-hearted person gets bad results from the meditations, they second-guess their understanding of the teachings, their application of the teachings, and they are willing to go back to their teachers or to the texts and try to figure out what went wrong. A fool, when they get bad results, just starts telling themselves stories like, oh, there's this entity called a self, and it's trying to sabotage me through all sorts of interesting ways. No, it's not. You're just having a tough time because you don't understand the teachings, or your teachers don't understand the teachings, or their teachers. Here's a quick rule of thumb. If someone is vague and imprecise in their teachings, if they play word games with you, they are a bad teacher. As the Buddha lay dying, he explained, I have taught with an outstretched arm and an open hand, keeping no secrets. If someone keeps secrets from you actively or passively, find a better teacher. Please chant with me. As we relax into our exhalation, the area behind the navel that we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as not graspable as real or imagined ranasambhavas, mustard seeds, isolable tram of gold light. During our inhalation, we are wired to sit up nice and tall in a way that would make our grandma proud, generating a vertical traction between our tush and our head. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. And now let us rest. So we're just kicking back. So now let's kick, during our inhalation, let's just kick back and watch the antics of mind as it perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. All the while, our mind can silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. During our exhalation, we could relax into mind's non-graspable nature while silently and mentally reciting the one-syllable verb, ease. Now, what you might have noticed is during this exercise, we're using a gold-colored syllable that correlates with the navel region of this diagram. So you might feel your eyes pull down and gaze upon the lower part of the screen automatically, or you might not. That's fine too. If you feel that sensation, you don't need to focus on it. You don't need to ignore it. Just understand that that's just the dance of interdependence. Together. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever halt we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined akshobyas. Mustard seeds isotable hung of blue light. Notice we're not asking you to believe that your heart is actually a blue Buddha, but we're using similes. Feel as non-graspable, as real or imagined. So this is important. This is important. You know, we're not trying to create a presence, metaphysical prison cell for you through literal statements. We're trying to unlock the prison of your mind through metaphor and simile. One, two, three, four, and let's go over here, and there we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's unbold that. Thank you for your patience. So we don't have to actively focus on our heart. Simply by saying the word heart is just feeding instructions to our subconscious. Whether or not our conscious mind is aware of what's going on, don't matter. Remember, there's always going to be a majority of people who are like really into being rigid and controlling. Oh yeah, man, let's actively visualize. And there's always going to be a minority who are really into being laid back. People who actively practice take a very long time to become a Buddha. And the people who are laid back become a Buddha very, very quickly. Sturgeon's law observes that 90% of everything is crap, including meditation instructions. So we have to be little scientists and not just believe willy-nilly or disbelieve, but forsake belief altogether and simply play with a teaching and notice the results. And if it makes us uptight, then use a different teaching from a different teacher. Om Mahung Benzo Guru Bema Siri Hung Om Mahung Benzo Guru Bema Siri Hung Om Mahung Benzo Guru Bema Siri Hung Om Mahung Benzo Guru Bema Siri Hung. And now let's kick back. Our eyes might close automatically. Our eyes might open automatically. We might notice the sky. We might notice the horizon. We might notice the earth. We might notice a sensation internally. We might not. That's cool. Just go. Let the journey take you where it may. Whether the journey takes you someplace external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. Our life can be a terrifying test or an exciting journey. I'm sorry, an exciting adventure. Don't want to misquote old what's-her-face. Helen Keller. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever threat we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined amitabhas, mustard seeds suitable free of red lights. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. And now let's rest the mind. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever chronoscope we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined vital chanas, a mustard seed sized little bloom of white light. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. And then let's rest in the non-graspable nature of mind. Having climbed to contemplative cruising altitude, together as a team, let us meditate as transformatively as Yoda on Dagobah under the guidance of the Force Ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn. Let us bring the dualistic five perceptions into the path of non-duality's awareness and letting go. This is known by many names such as Great Completion Stage Tantra, Sutra Mahamudra, Anti-Yoga, or Tructures slice through the duality of dread and desire. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of beauty or ugliness we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of just sight. Good Good morning, Kevin. Please give my love to Jay and Rue and Teddy. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of discord or harmony we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of simply sound. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. And now let us coast into spontaneous awareness and letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of foul fragrance we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of simply sand. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of disgusting or delicious we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of simply taste. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of pain or pleasure we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of simply sensation. Well, that's weird. Let's try that again. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung. Let us bring the 5 mental poisons into the path of awareness and letting go. This was first explained, I first learned this from Chagdud Tulku, and it blew my mind. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever hate we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as mirror-like wisdom's clear void. So here's how it works. Hate and mirror-like wisdom are opposite things. We do not apply mirror-like wisdom to get rid of hate. Au contraire, we simply notice hate as we breathe in. And as we relax, that exact same hate transforms into mirror-like wisdom, which is very cool. Hate is any type of aversion, including fear, in this context. Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me Mazeri Hung. 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 As we relax into our exhalation, whatever part we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as the equalizing wisdom of primordial voidness. Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me Mazeri Hung. 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 As we relax into our exhalation, whatever craving we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as descending wisdom's bliss void. Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me Mazeri Hung. 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 As we relax into our exhalation, whatever jealousy we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as all-accomplishing wisdom's void intellect. Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 As we relax into our exhalation, whatever confusion we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as all-pervasive wisdom's awareness void. Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 Let's bring the 5 aggregates into the path of awareness and letting go. Aggregate could be translated as heap or pile, and is just one of many, many, many ways of organizing human experience. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever body or form we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me Maziri Hung. Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me Maziri Hung. Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me Maziri Hung. Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me me maziri hum. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever sensation such as pleasure, pain or not that we might have noticed during our previous inhalation, could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 As we relax into our exhalation, whatever appraisal of pleasure or pain's intensity or volume we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 As we relax into our exhalation, whatever impulse such as working, feeding, fighting, fleeing, fainting, or fawning we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as not graspable as a vast void. Om Mahung Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 As we relax into our exhalation, whatever awareness of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, or imagination we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as not graspable as a vast empty void. Om Mahung Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 Let us bring the 5 thoughts into the path of awareness and letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever emotion we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as not graspable as a vast empty void. benzu guru me maziri hung om. Mahung benzu guru me maziri hung om. Mahung benzu guru me maziri hung om. Mahung benzu guru me maziri hung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever intention we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzu Guru Me Maziri Hung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever cognition we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever recollection we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 As we relax into our exhalation, whatever imagination we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 As we breathe in, let us silently and mentally recite. Let us silently, mentally, and passively recite, relaxing into this. Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung Om Mahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. Let us seal this morning's practice by percussively chanting, loving letting go's wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. May all minds of all beings lucid, yet void no be as enlightened as a Buddha's mind symbolized by a one-syllable bija. May all speech of all beings resounding, yet void no be as loving as a Buddha's speech symbolized by a multi-syllable mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual, yet void no be as healthy as a Yidam archetype depicted in Buddhist statuary. May all lots of all beings appearing, yet void no be as fortunate as a pure land of law depicted in Buddhist paintings. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 9.5 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.